Hi everyone, it's Chris. Welcome back to another video. Today I thought I would share the first two issues of Kerrang magazine. I've actually got the first 50, but I thought it would be interesting just to look at the first two. So the first one is from June 1981 and the second one is from August 81. I was just about to finish school in 1981. I'd just done my A-levels when Kerrang magazine first came out. We've got Angus Young on the front. We're going to look at the first issue first up. So we open up. This was a magazine that really championed the new wave of British heavy metal. I think the main guy behind this initially was Jeff Barton. He was a big fan of the new wave of British heavy metal. So there's always quite a lot of that sort of stuff in here. And in fact, the first article is about Black Axe, which is a band that probably not many people have heard of. I think they changed their name to Wolf, possibly, but I don't think they had much success at all. And then over the page we've got Saxon, who were from Barnsley up in Yorkshire. They were a great band. In fact, I think almost at the height of their powers at this kind of time, 1981. That article continues, and then we've got Steve Zodiac, who was the main guy behind the trio Vardis, who played kind of boogie rock, did a couple of decent singles and a couple of not bad albums. And then we've got the Heavy 100, which is the all-time favourite heavy metal tracks as voted by the Readers of Sounds. Some fascinating stuff in here, some really bizarre songs. If I can just get rid of the glare. Whole lot of Rosie at number 1, Stargazer, Stairway to Heaven, Freebird, all the classics are there. So this, remember, is a heavy metal list, but then you get a long way down. You get Ain't No Love in the Heart of the City by Whitesnake, not particularly very heavy, bearing in mind it's one place up from Highway to Hell. But anyway, a fascinating list. Some song, nothing there would be massive surprise, particularly, I suppose, although a lot of it isn't particularly heavy, is it? Always fascinated the fact that Meatloaf make it into this sort of list. And then back to the main magazine, we've got again, lots of stuff around the new wave of British heavy metal. Geddes Act, Bow Wow, Jaguar, Diamond Head, Venom, Raven, all bands that some of them were a bit more influential and a bit more successful than others, but by and large fell by the wayside. And then we've got Tora Tora, Bitch's Sin, Split Beaver, it's a terrible name, isn't it? And Chainsaw, all of which fell by the wayside and had no success, I don't think at all. The second album from Girls' School, Hit and Run, which I think was on red vinyl, if memory serves me right. And then we've got Rose Tattoo. I saw live; they were great fun. Pat Benatar, who always got lumped into the heavy metal thing, despite the fact she really wasn't. And then there's Styx, two guitarists from there. Scorpions, great live band. And then over the page here, a whole page, that must have cost them a fortune, a whole page for merchandising for Diamond Head. This was a band, I love this band. I went to see them numerous times. I actually met the band as well and got to know a couple of them very, very briefly back in 1981. But yeah, I had a few things off that list. And then over here we've got Michael Schenker and Lemmy from Motorhead. Lots of pictures, not a huge amount of words sometimes. Bad picture of David Coverdale, I'm sure he's really pleased with that one. And then advert for 2 albums from Pat Benatar. And the latest album from Trust, French band. This is the English version of Repression, which the lyrics were translated from the French into English by Jimmy Percy. I saw this lot support Iron Maiden on the Killers tour. They were very good. Nico McBrain was the drummer. Can't remember the name of the guitarist, but he was very, very good indeed. And then we've got Ted Nugent. I saw him on that tour. He came swinging in, dressed as Tarzan. He was mental and not that great, if I'm honest. And then Gene Simmons from Kiss. Then over the page we've got a bit of Led Zeppelin, of course, and then some more new wave of British heavy metal stuff in Buffalo and Handsome Beasts, which I think Phil Aston was in, who does the Now Spinning magazine. Really good YouTube site. If I'm sure you've seen it. If you haven't, tune in to Phil. He's very good. And then we've got a picture of UFO. Saw them on that tour with Tonka Chapman. They were great. ZZ Top. Before he used to wear ridiculous hats all the time. And then we've got a picture of Giza with Ronnie behind him. And then over the page, some stuff about Nuts. Nuts were a band who featured on the there we are. Nuts, who featured on the new wave of British heavy metal, Metal for Mothers compilation. They were in that on that particular album. And then Wild Horses, who I saw live. They were a reasonably good band. Obviously Brian Robertson, Jimmy Bain there. They were a reasonably good band, but they just lacked a singer. Jimmy Bain did the vocals, and yeah, he could sing, but not that great. And then we've got Trust Again there. And then we've got Graham Bonnet, and I remember seeing Graham Bonnet with Rainbow at the first Monsters of Rock, which was this particular summer. Was it the summer before? Summer before, wasn't it? And then we've got Venom and Silverwing. Silverwing were, it says Venom, but it doesn't look like Venom to me, but anyway. Silverwing were a band who so desperately wanted to be like Kiss and all those sorts of bands, I think, and they were fairly weak. And then we've got adverts for t-shirts and then some official merchandise for Angel Witch at the bottom there. They were a good band. And then Strictly for Connoisseurs. So this was a page that always had 4 or 5 albums that were kind of had gone under the radar that they thought people should know about. And they had this knack in Kerrang of substituting all the C's for K's. So that's why we've got Strictly for Connoisseurs with the K's. So we've got a live album of Black Oak, Arkansas and Arthur Lee. Marcus, who I've never heard of. Golden Earring to the Hilt. And of the classic, actually, debut MC5's Kick Out the Jams. And then over the page we've got a purple Gillen Whitesnake family tree. Now that would probably be the size of a football pitch nowadays. That would be massive, but I always loved Pete Frame's family tree stuff. And we've got Blackfoot, who I saw live. I can't remember who they supported. Was it Scorpions possibly? And then an article on Ronnie Montrose. And then over the page some Chrysalis albums at the bottom there. A to Z, No Fun After Midnight, limited edition 12-inch on red vinyl, and then a quiz, which I'm sure I would have done reasonably well in, and then just some basic adverts and so on. And then at the back we've got a picture of the lead guitarist, can't remember her name now, from Girls' School. Okay, let's look at the second one. Pretty briefly, Richie on the front, that's Rainbow era Richie Blackmore. And then we open the page and we've got Paul Di'Anno, who I think was the best singer that Maid never had. I love the first 2 albums. Picture of episode 6 with a very handsome Ian Gillan on the end there. Some tour news. Some recommended new albums and singles. If I just hold that there, you can pause it if you wanted to have a closer look. And then over the page, we've got the Port Vale Festival with Black Sabbath, Motorhead, Triumph, Vardis, and it says major band. I think that was Mahogany Rush that actually played at that particular concert. And then we've got Loverboy, who are a decent sort of Canadian AOR band, and an advert for Precious Time by Pat Benatar, which is a decent album. I quite like that. Fire and Ice is a good song. And then we've got Rainbow, the version with Jolyn Turner, which is probably my least favourite version of Rainbow. Never particularly liked that era of the band. They were okay, but not anything sparkling. Nothing compared with the Dio era. And then the brilliant Fire of Unknown Origin from Blue Oyster Cult, advert for that. And then over the page, we've got an article on Def Leppard. Now, I saw them at Reading in 1980, and they were, they had beer cans thrown at them, and I think they followed Slade, which didn't help because Slade were immense. And it felt like Def Leppard was selling out to go to America. At least that was the perception. Now, they brought out a single called Hello America, which didn't help. But this was kind of their comeback, coming onto the album High and Dry, which is, I think, a classic new wave of British heavy metal and a good album. And then we've got the Monsters of Rock, the second one, which had AC/DC, Whitesnake, Blue Oyster Cult, Slade, Blackfoot, and Ban Moore as well. And then we've got Triumph, who I saw their first ever gig in the UK. I saw them live. It was cancelled halfway through because Rick Emmett, the guitarist, had jet lag and was being sick, so that gig couldn't continue. And then we've got Cozy Powell, sadly passed away in the very early 90s. New wave of British heavy metal band, Aragorn, who I don't know, discography of Black Sabbath, and then lots of fan clubs. Over the page, some pictures. Always at this sort of time, you always had quite inappropriate pictures. It's as a Samson with a young-looking Bruce Dickinson, or Bruce as he was called there, and then we've got the bass player. I can't remember her name. Was it Enid Williams? That name's at the top there, from Girls' School. And then over the page, a little bit more new wave of British heavy metal. And some other bands beyond as well, because Anvil are mentioned there too, for they were from Canada. Rothschild, Demon Patch, Shell Shock, Blitzkrieg. I don't know if that's, I think that is the band that brought out the song Blitzkrieg, which is a B-side of a song called Buried Alive, which is a single I would love to have. It's a tremendous song. It's like a really upbeat version of Hocus Pocus by Focus, same sort of riff. Picture of Black Sabbath, saw them on that tour, they were fantastic. Not really Black Sabbath in many ways, but a great band. And then we're back for strictly for connoisseurs, and we've got Blue Cheer, Grand Funk. We've got an album by Mr. Big, who did that single Romeo, and this is called Sweet Silence. The album is dire, except for one song, Sweet Silence, which is a really good rock tune. And Stack Waddy and Silverhead, which is Michael Desbara's band, who were on Purple Label. They did a single called Rolling With My Baby, which is okay. Then we've got Filthy Animal, Taylor from Motorhead, and Diamond Dave from Van Halen, and then a Rainbow family tree, which nowadays would, as I said with the Deep Purple one, would be just the size of a football pitch. And then we've got Status Quo, Crocus, Swiss band, and Judas Priest. Stars and Their Cars, I think they used to have that. And then A Festival with Thin Lizzy. And then information, kind of discography style thing on Pink Floyd. And then back to the page with Diamond Head merchandising. They spent a lot of money on advertising that band. And then down at the bottom here, this is a cassette, so I've got no way of playing it, but I would have loved to have owned that Neat Records cassette. I don't know if it came out on vinyl. Some decent new wave of British heavy metal bands came out of Neat Records. And then we've got some concert t-shirts and so on, and then more pictures, more Raven, Praying Mantis, A to Z. Praying Mantis I saw support Triumph. They were a really good band. Their first album is really worth getting. Massive Crossword, which obviously I didn't do. And then some adverts for merchandise and clothing and posters. Some letters. Always fascinated me that in the letters, that you'd never have this now, where they actually give your address out. That just wouldn't happen now, would it? And then at the back, we've got a picture of Ozzy looking suitably mad. There you go. There's the first two issues of Kerrang from 1981. Tell me what you think in the comments below, and I'll be back with another video sometime soon. Cheers.